Hey everyone, this is Fealindale. I'm doing my first voiceover for a Class Wars. Thank you to Ellington for doing voiceover in my last one, and for Cosmos for running Deli games. Um, this Class Wars was an interesting one for sure. I went with my Rage Rune into Lightbringer strategy again. This first fight against Cinder, though, I didn't do that. I didn't do the Lightbringer because he threw up a Chaos right away. Last month, I tried doing the Chaoses, or I tried doing Lightbringer through a Chaos, and it didn't work out well for me, so I played it a little more safe this time around. I'm also using the Knight Eudaimon, the Sacred Knight, with the Rage Steel, which has worked really well for me. Really the only way that you can do a Lightbringer against me with this setup is to do it either as your first attack, or if you have a Rage Rune, so you can get up to 150 Rage. Salandra's doing a very similar setup to the one that I'm doing. He's using Goddess of Prosperity versus my Frigga. Same troops, Sylph troops. I think there's strong advantages to both, for sure. A lot of people favor the Goddess of Prosperity because it does B attack, and mages have such high MDef. They shy away from the Frigga for that reason. But I prefer the Frigga because of the resistance advantage, which helps out against their troops. So I can clear their troops right away, and then they stop receiving heals and shields. Hopefully I can keep my troops alive. Now here's Chile running the same setup that I am. I was very interested to see him running Frigga. He usually doesn't do that. So, I don't think I've ever seen him run a Frigga before. I kind of got the drop on him here, because he didn't use a troop, he didn't use a Eudaimon. So I was able to get into Sylph mode right away, and then my Rage Steel stopped him from getting into Sylph mode. But his stats are really just phenomenal. This Class Wars was really a testament to just how powerful he is. I got into Sylph mode long before him, and I managed to keep him out of Sylph mode, but I still wasn't able to beat down his health very much. And then eventually he does get into Sylph mode, I think. I think he also, he got a couple lucky dodges in there as well. He dodged my big hit there that would have gotten him pretty close to dead. And then he dodges this big hit also. I think otherwise I might have had a shot against him, but just wasn't in the cards today. There's so much chance involved in this game. But, yeah. Chile had a great strategy, and he hits really hard, as you can see. Also, I had no no water resistance, so I was taking a lot of damage from that. He also took a lot of damage. He wasn't running water. Most people don't. I was just running Wind, Light, and Dark this time around. I didn't have any of the other three. I just kind of stacked everything to beat Odin's and Goddess of Prosperity, and let everything else just rely on beating them before they can get into Sylph mode. Here's Rira. Rira's really tough and got the drop on me, got into Sylph mode first, but because it's an Odin, I wasn't too worried about it. My plan was to just stay up and knock him out of Sylph mode, and then I can pound on him once he's out. Unfortunately, Rira is just really, really tanky. He has incredibly high MDef. I've not been able to beat him yet, I don't think. And that's because, well, Odins are tanky to begin with, and then my Friggas just don't stand a chance. Also, there are just so many shields nowadays. With the Titans and the Guardian Shields, Guardian Runes, and the Mages have a passive that gives us another shield. It's just hard to deal a lot of damage nowadays, which is why I think Chilimac and Rira didn't use Eudaimon to try to win on time, which I think worked out well for them a couple times. I'm hitting him hard here. but just not nearly hard enough. Yeah, he's got that rune up. I just can't do anything. He gets back into Sylph mode, and once he's in Sylph mode, he's got all of those Odin passives on again. You can see there I'm using that Whispering Wind buff, and between battles you'll see that again. I use 2 Whispering Winds at once because they stack just like the Damnations and Cursed Arrows that we all know and love. And so that gives me an extra 70% attack when I first get into Sylph mode, and hopefully my opponents aren't in Sylph mode yet, and I can really wail on them. Here's Asher, my buddy, my friend. We're guildmates, and we run Titan Wars together, every single Titan Wars, and we run dailies together. He's a good friend of mine. My wife and I are both friends with him and his wife, and so we talk a lot about strategy. 2 months ago, I took second in Class Wars, and he was the only one who beat me. He robbed me of my first place, and that's because we talk strategy so much. He kind of knew what I was going to do. And he has a big stat advantage. The only way that I can beat any of these top 8 players is kind of getting the drop on him, surprising him, because their stats are all just quite a bit higher. Asher has a lot of fused sylphs to choose from. I only have 2. I have the 2 Friggas, so he could use an Odin or a Thor or a Frigga and still have Friggas as troops, which is nice. I wish I had those kinds of sylphs to draw on. I would love to have a 3rd Frigga or maybe a Thor, but that's just not in the cards for me right now. And so Asher and I, we both did our Lightbringer right off the bat, and it's a very even match, except that he just has more stats, and he beats me down before the time runs out. So props to him. I was really banking on him doing well this time. I actually bet on him to take second, and best of luck to him in the future. Here's Groot. I've seen him around. I think he's from our previous cross-server group. He's had some strong days and some less strong days. I've sometimes been surprised by him. He was really tanky for a while, and I couldn't kill him. It was really frustrating in Battlegrounds because it would take like 10-minute fights. He has the 3 fused sylphs, and he's also using the Frigga as his main. So counting myself, that's 3 we've seen so far with Chile Mac. I think posting my video last month on this made the Friggas a lot more popular. But it does have that big drawback that it does magic attack, and these players just have such high magic defense. It's hard to get a lot of damage in. I try to compensate that using those Whispering Winds, and sometimes it works, but against players like Rira and Ray, it's just, they're so tanky, I can't hurt them. So good job, Groot. That was a decent fight. You can see I'm doing my steals on my sylphs second round, so I can use my own steal first, and then their steals will come in. And I've found that to be good timing to keep my opponents out of Sylph mode for a long period of time, as you saw against Chile. Here, Devil, I don't remember seeing Devil around that much until relatively recently, so I think he's kind of on the up and up. He has 3 fused sylphs that I see over there. And he got his Chaos right off the bat, so I didn't quite get into Sylph mode as early as I usually like. He's running the same kind of troops I am. I have really high light and dark resistance right now, though, so I'm not too worried against Odin's. Oh, and I just hit him really hard right there. Yeah, that's that Whispering Wind helping out, along with him not having much in the way of water resistance. Right now, Zarda and Ray are in first and second. And here's Ice. Asher was warning me about him earlier in guild chat. You can see we're talking back and forth and trying to help each other out, keeping tabs on what everybody's using. And in the past, I think Asher once switched resistances in the middle of class wars based on what other players were using. So we help each other out that way as much as we can, but ultimately one of us has to lose to the other, which is what happened 2 months ago when I took second and he took third. One of us had to lose. So ice is pretty tough. I was a little worried about that Thor, but I hit him with 3 steals all at once and he didn't get to get any delphs off. So that saved me right there. Otherwise, a very tough player. Normally I'd be pretty worried about him. I just got lucky timing steals and things like that. It just kind of worked out. And this looks like Shay. He's a very tough player that I'm normally very worried about. He's jumping into Sylph mode right off the bat. And there's not much I can do against players that are doing a first turn Lightbringer. I could try with a Chaos, but then I wouldn't be able to use my Lightbringer. And starting with the Chaos I found is a little risky, because if I use a Chaos I could hit my own kid if I get Chaosed, and then all sorts of bad things break out. So I've steered away from that recently, but I just don't have the resistances to fight a Thor right here, so Shady just kind of takes apart my team one at a time, and there's nothing I can do. So, good fight to Shady. He's in third at the moment, with Ray and Zarda in first and second. I wish I had a second Frigga so I could have a heal on my Sylph team. I do have a shield on there, and then I'm using my own heal and shield on my own Frigga as needed. Here's Zardoz, another very, very tough player. I got the drop on him as well with the Rage Steel, so he was unable to Lightbringer. I don't remember if that was ever his strategy, but he used a Chaos, so I also was not able to Lightbringer, so we selfed around the same time. But his kid was a lot tougher than mine. Mine died right away, and then his kid was able to keep his troops healed a little bit. This wasn't looking good for me right here. Zardoz has a tough team. He's using all 6 elements, and so you can't protect against all those resistances. I try to, kill his troops, but then he throws out a Chaos, and this is something I just found out, that when I do an AoE and I'm Chaosed, as you can see right here, it'll only hit him, and I couldn't hit his troops because of that Chaos. I didn't know that before. So that's good to know. I wish I knew that before. I don't know how I can change strategies about that. It was frustrating, and I think that happens to me in a later fight too. So, not much I could do at this point. I'm pretty much done for the count. Yeah, I'm just typing the guild chat right there about the AoEs. Alright, here's Ray. I actually managed to beat Ray last month, even though his stats are incredible, and they've only gone up from last month. I get the drop on him, just like I have been doing everyone else, with the Rage Steel, and getting into Sylph mode early. And this fight was really just a testament to just how incredibly tough Ray is. I'm in Sylph mode. He doesn't have the resistance to defend against me. And I'm still just not doing any damage against him. Took me several shots to kill his troops, which means, a huge amount of HP and defense on the Eudaimon. And I'm hitting him with everything I got, and he's still hitting me harder than I'm hitting him, which is pretty crazy, since I was in Sylph mode and had 2 troops to help out. He gets into Sylph mode anyways, 3 steals later, and pretty much wipes out my whole team in like 2 or 3 shots. He's also using that Whispering Wind strategy that I use. It's a pretty wicked strategy. It makes us hit really hard. At this point I'm just trying to survive till timer, but there's no way. He hits like a freight train. I have no idea what his magic attack stat is when he's using milk teas and scrolls and whatnot. And here's Big Bailey, another tough player. Asher and I have been talking about him quite a bit lately, because he's been able to beat Asher about, well, I don't know how much of the time, but some of the time. It kind of goes back and forth between the two of them. I don't know if I've beaten Big Bailey recently. I know I've never beaten Asher. That's something that he always holds over me. He's a real tough player. Bailey has pretty good stats. He's got a good Sylph team going, which can only help, obviously. Running the 2 Friggas is really the way to go, I think. It's interesting to see some players doing the all 6 elements versus the 2 Friggas, and I'm not really sure how I feel about that. I guess I just don't have a good gauge of how hard Sylph troops can hit. I always just prefer to go the route of using them for support and not actual attack. Obviously, having a Thor as a troop doesn't give you much support, it's just an attack. So Bailey's also using the Whispering Wind for extra attack, and but since he got his troops up, I was not able to do much, and only hitting him for -4% on resistances, so he was running some water res and I couldn't kill his troops, which is really the big decider for me. If I'm fighting someone with troops, I'm pretty much hopeless. I gotta take them out if I'm gonna do anything. And here's Ellon, another pretty good friend. Thanks for the commentary on my video last month. She's a real tough player. She's been one of the strongest players on Wartune since Wartune first was invented. She's as old as the game. Real tough. She has really good strategies. She and Asher are really good friends and talk a lot about strategies and how to help each other. We managed to help each other out for Cross-Server Guild Battle last time around, sharing strategies. Here I managed to get the drop on her. I got into Sylph mode first, which is kind of a recurring theme in all of my Class Wars videos. It's always what I try to do, and then use the steals to keep them out. And it worked for a while. I kept her down for a while, and that let me hit her for a lot more damage, which is good for when these things go to timer. She brought her Eudaimon as well, so I'm not at a huge disadvantage for that. One of the reasons I like the Rage Rune is that when I drop out of Sylph mode, I can usually get back into Sylph mode right away, but it looks like she did a bunch of steals right here, or something, and I wasn't able to get into Sylph mode as quickly as I wanted. Still have that Goddess of Prosperity up for a while. I think that could probably hurt me more than did any good, because it was just taking damage while it was up. Since this fight really looks like it's going to timer. Yeah, I just threw on the Guardian Rune to try to take less damage right there. Yeah, these timer fights are difficult because oftentimes, you can try to win it, but then that'll, kill your opponent. But that'll put you at a disadvantage for trying to win on timer, and you really just have to make some decisions. Got a couple Whitleys here. I think there were 2 no-shows this month, which makes it a little easier. But then there's less people to beat, And we play Wartune to have fun and actually do battles. So I prefer to fight real players. Zardoz was doing really good for a while, but it looks like he dropped down out of the rankings. I don't know what happened. It looks like he lost 4 or 5 in a row, so it might be that he lost connection. And I know he wasn't one of my Whitleys because I fought him earlier on, but someone else could have ended up with that. And here's Chastity. I think this is my last fight. Another pretty tough player. Been around for quite a while. One of the rock-solid players. Always watch out for her or him in Crossover Guild Battle and Battlegrounds and things like that. Running 2 Thors, or no, that's just 1 Thor off her troop, off her Eudaimon. So she's running a Thor and a Frigga. I'm guessing that's just because she's using all 3 of her fused Sylphs, doesn't have 2 Friggas. Not really sure if I would ever have an Odin and a Thor. I'd probably just pick one of the two. So that's it. That's the fight. I had 8 wins there. Here I'm showing the rankings, and then as they update, Ray coming in with a solid win, solid first place. That's 2 in a row. And then Rira and Big Bailey and Asher and Shady all tied for second. So on BR, Rira and Bailey pull up second and third. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.